everybody. Nick Fisher. Be nice and smooth here. This podcast covers all things motorsports. It's unfiltered, it's unfast, and
You can do whatever the Hyundai you want.
I love that new intro.
I do too, man.
It's so much fun.
Welcome back to the Fuel Pod.
We're
going to be discussing Max's attempt to clinch the championship tonight. Ferrari's going to be transitioning to bicycle racing due to less moving parts. And Sir Lewis Hamilton discusses kissing walls as a veteran racing car driver. In other news, a toddler claims the World Rally crown and Mercedes wins the fast car contest in Barcelona. We'll talk about how Ricciardo can't buy an F1 seat and how Latifi is going to Haas because he did buy an F1 seat. Maybe. Of course, this is still rumor, but it's from a pretty credited source. So we also have to discuss breaking news. The FIA released their statements today on who broke the cost cap.
I put that on my list.
Yeah. So, I don't, like Toto, I don't want to mention any of the teams that possibly broke the Red Bull cost cap. Red Bull. So anyway, we need to move on Red Bull. And we'll also be discussing the actual Singapore Grand Prix. I don't, man. I'm just messing with you. We'll talk about the Singapore GP just in general, and then a couple of the other racing series is that this weekend.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Jay, did you change your intro? Because that's not the same intro I have. Did you change yours up?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. I mean, you always said no that.
The other intro will go out on our TikTok here pretty quick. Is Jay threw together something. It was something. It was definitely a good one. So where are we starting at today, Jay?
Let's start in Singapore, man. It was hot and sweaty.
Hot and sweaty, and it rained a lot.
Yeah, it did rain.
It was definitely the skies opened up. I mean, what was the delay on that thing?
It was like 90 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
But you only have 3 hours to get a race in, right?
Right. So yeah,
half the.
right. But they still had it was basically a 2-hour race, but they ended up racing to time and not to laps.
Yeah.
So
which is okay because at Singapore, man, those laps take forever.
oh my goodness,
It
man.
takes a hot minute to get around.
Yeah, and
the
in
track.
rain, I think the fast laps were like by the time it was all said and done and on a partially drying track, they were down to like 148, I think.
Which is pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's moving pretty fast. So I got a question as we're going to talk about this start and we're talking about the GP. One thing I noticed, and this happens somewhat regularly. That's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
Why did Russell start from pit lane? Why do cars start on pit lane instead of just starting at the back of the grid?
I didn't get the actual details on that because when I left.
Well, I mean, I know he changed a
Yeah, and that's why.
a motor, but
Yeah.
but why not just start at the back of the field? Why on pit lane?
Yeah, and I have to look into that too. And I wanted to, and that was one of the things that just didn't make the cut for me this week because
Okay.
it was Russell. And he usually has problems with not wearing shirts. So
America.
You know.
I figured that's what they penalized him for. Taking
yeah, I
one
thought
too
so
many
too.
shirts picks.
Oh man, it was the topless pics. That's
Dude
what it was.
never wears a shirt. And we talk about that. People that listen to this a lot probably think we're like infatuated with George Russell.
Yeah, I'm not.
But follow him on social media. It's constant.
Yeah, and plus he wants you to follow him on social media.
Clearly.
Yeah.
It's a bad deal.
But man, I want to talk about qualifying before
Okay.
we even get into the race. Just
Sounds
a
good.
couple of points. Really strong showing for Lewis Hamilton. He was in P1 for quite a while during a couple of the qualifying sessions. And Fernando Alonso, drove the wheels off that car. Also was in first P1 a couple of times, P2 for quite a stretch in Q2.
Yeah.
Tough break for him later, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But man, both of those guys, veteran guys, were really, really fast laps. Leclerc and Sainz, they were driving like their hair was on fire. I know I told you that I was predicting a double Ferrari crash out this weekend. And it was like they woke up on Sunday morning and they were completely different people. But man, they were talking about driving the wheels off the car, but
They
it
had
was
a great qualifying session.
yeah, and it was the bad version of driving the wheels off the car. I was like, oh, you're not, dude, if it's even remotely wet, you're not going to be able to pull that move off,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Sainz rip around the corner at the end, what is that, turn 14, the last turn before start finish, and it looked like somebody was holding on to the car and just whipped it around the sweeper.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and I
Was
was
this in
like,
qualifying?
yeah, this was in
What
qualifying.
did he end up qualifying?
Uh,
Because he finished third.
so
I mean-
Leclerc had pole,
Yep.
and then it was, he was
Perez.
third.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he still had a good, I mean, he had some issues.
Yeah.
Still had a really good qualifying session.
Max Verstappen,
was terrible this weekend.
I put the no complaints here. Verstappen had a huge WTF moment. First off, they slowed him down 1 point on a flying lap during Q3.
Yeah.
Then they brought him in on Q3, and I think it was because he wasn't going to have enough fuel in his tank to pass Parc Ferme.
So
You have to have when you bring your car in.
the point is to have as little fuel as possible.
Correct.
So the car's light.
Correct, but you have to have enough for a sample to give to the FIA guys in Parc Ferme for them to test your fuel.
Okay.
Like, there's not enough.
You gotta have a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you got to fill it up to the line.
Yeah.
Before you go. Yeah. So anybody that's worked for a living, you know what we're talking about. But so he was not happy. And if you get a chance to go back and listen to that audio, I cannot repeat any of it.
Yeah.
It would not qualify for a Disney show.
There's a lot of beeps. I heard just I don't remember where it was, but it was somewhere that
He was hot mad. So anyway, he ended up qualifying 8th. But let's move on to the race. So we had the rain delay.
Which to go talk about a struggle moment though. I mean, he could have closed it out.
Yeah.
And especially with rain. I mean, that's the great
equalizer.
Yeah, I mean, Sainz could have wrecked. Leclerc could have wrecked. I mean, if Verstappen goes and has a good race, he has a chance to close it out. What, 8th?
So here's the thing though: the two
He just
best
messes off all weekend.
The two best rain drivers were in front of him too, so I think he would have had a problem because Ricardo and Sainz are both excellent in wet weather.
I mean, I'm saying if Verstappen would have been in front.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a really good a wet driver too. I don't know.
If you say so.
It just seemed like a really off weekend.
Yeah.
Just seemed like an off weekend.
I don't think he likes Singapore, but we'll get to that in a minute.
I don't think he does either.
So Perez started from second and got a ridiculous jump in wet conditions. He got like dry jump wet, conditions, and Leclerc did. And I put on here, it reminded me of when you and I raced virtually, because one thing you are very, very good at is getting the jump when the lights go out. And
very rare
me,
to a compliment.
I'm always trying to, I try like 9 different theories, and one of them is good, and I'm just not doing it right. But if it doesn't work, I check the next one. So I felt Leclerc's pain right there because I'm like, crap, here goes Perez just flying off the line.
And he did not, man. So, and then he was there the rest of the day.
Yeah. So it's funny that you talk about that jump because I remembered that happening before.
Yeah.
And so I told you today, I did a little J homework today, and I went through in all the polls that Leclerc had because I thought, man, he really got smoked off the jump.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder how many times that's happened this year. And it's only happened twice. And the other one was Perez.
What was the track?
I don't remember. I knew you were going to ask that.
Was it raining?
No, it was because I thought it might have been Monaco.
Okay.
Because he had the pole at Monaco and Perez got the win, but it wasn't Monaco. It might have been Ozzer.
Okay.
I can't remember where it was exactly, but
because we had rain at Monaco this year.
It was not Monaco because I remember Monaco. Remember when Monaco had like a weird start.
Yeah.
And Monaco, I checked that one. But anyway, it was the same kind of situation where Perez is on the outside and just got a ridiculous. Well, I guess it would be the inside, but he got a ridiculous jump and got the lead. But it just looked comical how fast Perez came off.
Oh man, it was a video game.
It really was.
Whang, he's just gone.
Yeah. Can you do that again for me one more time?
Whang.
I just wanted to see that one.
Whang with the whang. Okay.
ESPN Paris 105.1. I think flag that part right there. I'm gonna guess.
That is the name I have forced to use on F122. It's a last name.
Okay. Go to the race.
Okay, so the whole grid started on inners.
Yep.
Smart move. I thought maybe a couple teams might start on all wets.
Well, Hamilton didn't like the inners.
No, he didn't. I think he wanted all wets, but what kills me the most about that was A, he was running well.
Yeah.
And B, all wets would have just slowed him down. Because there were some dry segments on the track. And if you know anything about inners and all wets, if you hit any patch of dry, it's like snow skiing and you run into a patch of grass and you come to a dead stop and almost break your shins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, he was. I just remember him complaining. I mean, that was like the first thing they said. I mean, he was like, "You guys need to start listening to me on these tires. You guys start listening." I was like, "Wow." I mean, he actually made my spoiler alert. He made my back markers for just a constant complaining. He complained about somebody bumping into him, complained about his tires. I was like, "Come on, dude."
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway, sorry. Move
okay.
forward. This is not a Hamilton bash.
Carlos Sainz had like 0 pace all day. Somehow managed to be in third.
Yeah.
And part of me wonders if Binotto if Sainz was just like, yeah, I'll hold everybody back for Charles, because that's what it looked like he did all day.
Speaking of that, did you see where he talked about like when I get a win, nobody cares. They just want Charles to win.
No,
Did you? He said that.
I understand.
Yeah, I
There's
mean, it was a
some-
quote. He was like, it doesn't matter if I get a win or not. Everybody just wants Charles to win. And I mean, remember we talked about that before when Sainz got a win or something, or Sainz got on the podium and there was nobody there to celebrate with him.
yeah,
And then like the next week, Leclerc got on the podium and you would have thought like they won the Super Bowl.
yeah.
Like, I mean, there were people everywhere hugging and crying and jumping up and down. And I mean, it was just a really weird scene.
I don't know. Without understanding
I didn't get the
The-
context of it,
yeah,
but
and we don't get to see, regardless of what people think, we don't get to see all the conversations and
Yeah.
all the interactions. So, not that we need to anyway. But anyway, he had no pace. He ended up neighborhood, and if you wanted to average, I'd say that he was average 15 seconds off of Leclerc's pace.
really?
I mean, it went anywhere from 6 to 28 seconds. So I'm going to say
Yeah.
15.
Okay.
And call
I didn't
it a
realize
day.
it was that much.
But so, Lando was in fourth and running great.
Yeah.
but couldn't pass Sainz, and then obviously nobody could get around him, so it just created this disparaging gap, through the field, even after the pit stops. But it's kind of funny. Yuki Tsunoda, I don't know if this was it was his first Singapore. That makes sense now. So he calls out on the radio. They call him on the radio to talk about something, and he very aggressively, he's like, I'm going to back away from my mic. He goes, shut up. No more talking anymore. No more.
Oh, he's probably
And he
stressed
just
smooth
cuts-
out.
Yeah, man, he was.
That is, I'm telling you, I have no reference except virtually, but that's a stressful track, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a lot of talking either.
No, 'cause there's a lot of concentration. I mean, when we're racing it, again, virtually no real world consequences.
And
We don't talk a whole lot because there's just so much going on. It's constant braking, a little bit of throttle, then brake again. It's hard.
one of the things I was thinking about was trying to picture my 20-something self and how I wouldn't even have the frame of reference before the race to think about doing this.
Yeah.
But sitting down with the team and saying, okay, guys, here's the deal. This is my first time running this track. It's wet. There's hardly any places to overtake. I'm going to be stressed out. Which you're not going to say when you're in your 20s
No.
because you're immortal and you
Yeah.
think you're going to win. But this, the 48-year-old version of me would say those exact same things and then say, so here's the thing. Unless my tire is showing a full puncture, or you have an engine component that you're seeing on your little pewters over there that tells you that I need to not be racing anymore, or if the words out of your mouth aren't just pull the car over, we're going to retire the car, then leave me alone.
Yeah. Or just pick a spot on the
Yeah.
track, a straightaway. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. From here to you can talk to me.
Yes.
From here to here,
DRS zones.
whatever you need to get across to me.
Why isn't
holler.
every team like, if it's not absolutely crucial,
Yeah.
hey, talk to me in the DRS zones. But I don't think these guys, some of these guys, these data miner guys, I don't think they're watching the track maps.
No, they just talk whenever
Yeah.
they have something to say.
They see a number go in the red on their, whatever they're using, and they're like, call him and tell him to.
Do this or
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. Well, I mean, all you have to do is which obviously those guys are a lot better than us.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, just pick a couple of spots, like you said, DRS zones, a couple of spots on the track that are calm,
Right.
that are as calm as 200 miles an hour can be.
Yeah.
And these are the spots you can talk to me. These are when we can talk about push or back off or whatever.
Right.
But not in the middle of the tunnel turn going into another turn. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it
Or
just
like
makes no sense.
The sweeps at Austin when you're going around this, and they're coming over the radio going, hey, man, we noticed that you have a 3.2% fluctuation in the brake, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, dude, really?
Now it's not the time.
Yeah.
Now's not the time.
Actually,
Karen.
you know what I would say? I'd be like, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
You would
wow.
throw about 7 miles in there.
So, real quick, back to the start of the race,
Okay.
because I obviously added this talking point late
Yeah.
while I was watching the race. But Verstappen started out 8th and fell to talk about bad starts. Fell 4 places at the start.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible start.
just kicked it out to the outside, and
What
4
they
guys
called it
went by.
an auto stall or anti-stall.
Yeah.
Anti something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was really weird.
Well, I think sometimes Verstappen uses excuses when he makes
But what is an
boneheaded
anti-stall?
mistakes. I don't even know.
That was something that they said on the broadcast. He's like, "Oh, he kicked it into anti-stall." I mean, isn't that just the opposite of a stall?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Well, I'll tell you the other piece. What killed me too was when he cooked it into that one turn and tried to late brake for that, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, the underflooring got loose and I just bottomed out." I'm like, "No, dude,
No, you didn't.
you were going too fast."
Yeah.
and you're under 30. So, you know, you were just like jamming the brakes.
Thought you were gonna get it.
Thought you were going to get it because, hey, I'm Max Verstappen and I win all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you see the head motion everybody watching on TV?
I'm just telling you, he got called out this weekend
he did
in
you know,
a
but
lot of ways. And
what's
I'm
really
mention some
cool
of
about that
those.
though is that when he did miss that corner,
Yeah.
he spun
Yeah,
that
there we
booger
go.
on a dime.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
blah.
Hey, Vettel when he did it,
Yeah.
it was a veteran move and it was legitimately awesome. I
Yeah.
don't even care who it is. It was just really cool to see a car go flying into this little runaway zone. And I mean, he spun that thing going pretty quick.
Yeah.
And right back on the track. It was really cool to see. If you haven't watched it, look it up. It's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
Please do watch it. I'm messing with Chad.
I
That
know.
was a good
It's
move.
pretty. It was pretty cool, man. As a not a big car guy, you know. I mean, I'm a racing guy, but not a big car guy. I just thought that was a really cool move, man.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Other piece, Leclerc this weekend, Ferrari in general was flawless, man.
This was their best race in a while.
They were he just could not overtake the Minister of Defense. That dude, he so here was the weird variables, and it was mentioned on F1 TV. I didn't get to watch it on ESPN. Wait a minute, I don't even think ESPN had coverage this weekend.
Oh, really?
I think it was all F1 TV.
Well, I know Mikey pointed out that
yeah.
there's some contract disputes with like Dish Network and
Oh, okay.
ESPN, and so a lot of people didn't even have ESPN anyway.
Even if they did, they would have had to get up super early to watch it.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, he couldn't pass. But here's the thing: if every time Checo held the line, meant Leclerc had to get offline to pass him, but offline was where all the wet spots were.
See, man, Perez, dude,
Yeah,
he's
guy's a
legit.
genius. He stayed in the dry areas. He knew. He's like, well, I mean, if he wants to pass me, I guess he's going to have to go out there and run through the water.
Yeah.
So he didn't, and he just couldn't. I mean, he had, and I'll talk about that when I get to the last 20 minutes of the race. But
I mean, we're
anyway, he
at
was
17
flawless.
minutes right now. And we haven't even made it past like lap 3.
I know.
It's crazy.
So
That's what you call a really good race.
and then Latifi ruined Zhou Guan Yu's day.
What happened here? So I got to only see the highlights of the
What
race.
didn't happen? He got Latifi.
And you and Eric were talking about this. You know, we were texting
Yeah.
back and forth, and you were like, I cannot believe Latifi. Sorry, I had my hand up. Cannot believe Latifi did that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was, and it wasn't on the rewind. I mean, I didn't get to see it.
So they're coming down towards a right-hander. There's a little service runoff area.
Okay.
Latifi, Zhou had room. Latifi had plenty of room, and he just squeezed Zhou Guan out on the cut.
Yeah.
And it ended up, I think it was a brake line that busted on Zhou's. Anyway, they retired the car.
So it was
And-
100% Latifi's
Right.
fault.
And I was super upset because Latifi was able to get going again. And I thought, oh, that's terrible. He's going to get to finish the race, and Zhou's out.
Yeah.
But when he got around to the pits,
I saw that retired him.
they put new tires on his car and then retired it. And I was like,
Why would they do that?
well, they have to ship the car off with tires on it. I'm sure that's the only thing it was. But, you know, part of me thought that he might have thought he was going to get to go back out. And it
Yeah, probably did. I mean, I'm sure he did
Yeah.
think that.
Yeah,
Okay, so you got to see every lap of the race.
I did.
What happened with, I think it was George Russell and Valtteri Bottas?
No, it Russell, and I noted
Because
it.
I thought they said it was no, and not that part where he kind of squeezes him out and they bump right at the beginning.
Yeah, and then he blames it on the other guy like he
No,
always
like
does.
he always does.
Yeah.
No. This was, he looked like George went past him and caught his front wing.
Yeah.
And what happened there?
It just, that's what it was. I mean, there was nothing behind it. It's just,
But it
Ru-
looked like George
Russell-
like kind of made a weird move to go around him and then missed the turn and
right.
smoked his front wing. I didn't know.
Well, at this point, Russell, and I haven't got to the tire situation
Yeah.
yet, but Russell had already switched.
So he
to
was on softs
yeah,
or mediums or whatever. Yeah.
But he was on slicks.
Slicks.
And he had no control over that car.
Wet
Yeah,
for his skill level.
right.
Gotcha.
So you saw the pit crew started coming out around lap 21, and they were starting to get prepped for it. So, you know, regardless of what the pit window was documented as on the broadcast, I could tell that they were opening it up at 21. And, you know, Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso, all three, no slicks. We're not there. Very astute and, you know, mature calls there.
Yeah.
Everybody said Russell came in to get his on lap 22 to get his slicks on, and it was his call. And Russell's known for taking gambles like that, and sometimes they pay off, and sometimes this is what happens, right? So, part of me thinks Toto brought him in because he was running 14-20 on the grid. And he thought, hey, if we can get Russell in here and just see how he does, then we'll know how Hamilton's going to do.
Right. Which is
Yeah, it's
normal.
not a bad move.
Yeah.
But, he gets back out on the track. By the way, the lap before that, Fernando Alonso blew his engine while having a great race. So he But Russell comes in, switches to slicks, comes back out on the track, does his out lap. When he starts his first flying lap, switching, he's 11 seconds off the average lap time from the guys on inners. That's how slick it was. He almost went full sideways coming out of turn two.
So it's still just way
too wet. And there were places where it looked dry, and everybody was like, I can't figure out why Singapore doesn't dry like other tracks. And to me, I'm sitting there going, guys, I'm not a scientist, but it's not doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. Singapore is extremely humid.
Yeah.
If you've ever spent any time in Southeast Asia,
it's just not hot and dry.
You walk outside and you're soaking wet, so it's extremely humid. So stuff's not going to dry as quick. Plus the track had been resurfaced. So it's going to be a lot less porous, which means it's going to hold water.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why those guys on the broadcast,
just because they're on TV and on podcasts, that makes them the smartest guys in the world.
That's true.
That's no shot at us.
So anyway, Russell, eventually got it to where it was working. It probably took 5 to 7 laps though. Hamilton went in the wall shortly after that, but recovered. And no, he didn't have the cool spin out maneuver, but
he just went straight into the wall.
He hit the wall head first and was able to recover and get back out on the track. Came in, got his front wing changed. Although I thought it was funny because Verstappen was like the traffic cop out there for this race, and I think part of it was because he's not running up front. But he called out another driver, Magnussen, for having that stabilizer on the front wing leaning. Yeah. He was like, yeah, that's very dangerous. That could blow off. They need to get him in the pits. And then when Hamilton had his thing, he came out. When he recovered, he was right behind Max, and then right in front of Max. And then Max calls in. He's like, oh, he's sparking all over there. And he was. But still, man, come on.
Don't say anything.
Yeah, just
not your job.
You're a world champ now. There's no sense in being this guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, he recovered. Ocon went out with engine failure. Albon went out, and I didn't see that. And I don't think the broadcast did either.
Albon wrecked, right?
Yeah. I mean, I found out after the fact, but yeah. So now let's get to some of the discussion stuff.
Okay.
No DRS for this race until like the final.
Which makes sense.
5 to 7 minutes. Right. And that proved to be crucial in Max Verstappen's race. So it begs the question, would Verstappen dude, it's just a question. Chill out. Would Verstappen be a champ without DRS? Because he didn't have it, and he looked like a normal dude out there this weekend.
It's one race.
At
a track he hates.
I don't care.
He's had other races.
We all got to do things at work we don't like.
Yeah, of course. But he qualified. But I don't think the DRS had anything to do with it because he qualified bad. He was not racing well. Hates the track. And the DRS today didn't have anything, or Sunday didn't have anything to do with it.
Right. So that extra $8 million didn't really help him out this weekend like it has the rest of the season.
That's exactly
we'll get
right.
to that later.
Come on.
Yeah, I think I've got very valid arguments.
You probably do. You always come pretty good arguments.
For the record, if Ferrari had done this, I'd be making the same arguments because I don't want to see my own team do something chintzy either. Pierre Gasly, he pits at lap 34 and he gets the mediums. It was weird because I was like, Gasly's going to be next because he's also a gambler like that.
Yeah.
But you can see he waited 12 laps before he did it. And he came out and started immediately running a lot better. So obviously that cost the big cascade.
Yeah, as soon as he comes in and it works, he doesn't wreck.
So Yuki went in the wall while Gasly was in the pit stop, and he was done. It was over for him.
It was a good wreck.
Yeah, it was a good wreck. Leclerc boxed at lap 35. Didn't really help. I mean, he ended up back in second again, but, it was what it was. Got to talk about Danny Ricciardo quietly having his best race of the season.
I didn't even realize that.
Nobody knew it. Nobody paid any kind of attention to it except for when she interviewed him for a little bit. Then Lando came into Danny's interview and just stole it.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Because that's just what Lando does.
Yes.
He's an attention hog.
Yep. His whole life.
He is all hype and no substance.
And he finished P4. So that's what kills me. And you actually made this point a couple episodes ago where you were talking about, it's not like Lando's doing leaps and shoulders above what Danny's doing. And Lando had the gigantic upgrade package this weekend.
He finished one spot ahead of him.
and finished one spot ahead of him. But to be fair, Danny's better on street circuits. He's better on wet weather. So, that helped out too. But
For sure.
anyway, both the Aston Martins in the points again. That was good to see. You don't get to see that very often. You already we've talked about it a couple of times now. Versus blew it on
he
that.
just had a race. I mean, and maybe as bad a race. It's definitely the worst race he's had this year.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst races without a wreck that he's had in a couple of years.
Right.
Because last year he did have bad races, but it would be him and Lewis tangling, and causing a DNF or whatever. But he's never, it doesn't seem like, or I don't remember last year, him just having that terrible race. It's just like, good Lord, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That was this weekend. This is to forget, that's for sure.
And he didn't need to win this weekend. I mean, honestly, Christian Horner could have been like, listen, man, this is our last year with Honda. We'd like to clinch it in Japan.
By the way,
Honda's going to be there.
Is this the last year with Honda?
Yeah.
Because I saw a thing this morning that said that all their logos and stuff are back on the cars.
Oh, well, I mean, it's supposed to be it. But either way, it would be better to clinch it in Japan at Honda's home. Right? So if I'm Christian Horner, why not just say, hey, man, take it easy on the car this weekend?
Do you think they really do that, though?
No, I don't. Would I do it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Would you really, though?
Yeah.
Because anything can happen.
So you got 5 races left. You don't have as many components as you had last year. You already know, and I guarantee you Red Bull knew they were over going into this race anyway. So now on the rest of this season is going to be immense. Why not save the car a little bit, man?
I mean, I get it. If you qualify P1, you win the race.
Yes.
But I guess maybe if you qualify P8, you're like, well, here's the deal. You're not winning.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you qualify
just don't
P8,
tear anything up.
If you qualify P8 and the best you can do the whole day is P7, at least make it a mid-race decision and go, hey, man,
it's not happening.
Checo's got this thing locked down.
Yeah.
And
we've already paid the FIA guys.
So let's talk about Checo.
Okay.
And folks, please note it before I get started with anything else. Checo deserved to win this race. He ran a lights out race. He was unstoppable. He was unpassable. They could not get, Leclerc was within 0.3 to 0.6 for 4 laps, gave it the college try, and then just backed off.
Yeah.
He couldn't get it done. So at that point, I think Binotto was saying, hey, Charles, let's save the car. You're killing, because he was overworking his car probably 2 times more than anybody else.
Just trying to get to him.
Right. So he absolutely deserved to win this race. But did he? Let me get into this. So there was a possibility. There were 2 potential safety car infringements made by Checo Perez during the race.
Okay, explain safety car infringements.
Okay, so both of them were exceeding the 10 car length gap between him and the safety car.
Okay. Why is that important?
I saw video. I saw stop action video too, as far as to make sure that was what.
How close was it?
It was probably 12th. One of them looked like it was about 15 car lengths behind. The other one looked like it was really close.
I mean, because it's hard,
right.
It's a moving target. You got things moving. Look at something and say, that's about 15 car lengths.
Okay. So
I'm just saying, I was just wondering if it was like egregious, like if it was like 20, 25. Okay.
And, and then when the safety car comes in, the reason they want the gap too, other than safety reasons, but is when he turns the lights off and they're going to go back to racing, and drivers that are up front already do this anyway, where they kind of try to judge where they're going to turn it loose, because at that point they become the safety car.
Yeah.
Safety car's off.
Once you get to the restart zone or whatever, it isn't NASCAR, it's the restart zone.
But you're holding everybody back.
Yeah, because it's on you. It's on the leader.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to try to present this in an unbiased thing. There is a precedent from a previous race, Sebastian Vettel, where it happened and they didn't do anything about it. Now, it didn't have any ramifications on the decision of the race, which means I think that precedent doesn't. You have to use a precedent that's a matching precedent. The definite precedent is that it is a drive-through penalty.
Hold on. Well, I just got a question. How can it not have any ramification on the race?
Well, he wasn't in a spot where he was going to win. It was just that he made the same infraction from the field. From
Oh, he wasn't in first.
right.
Okay.
So, and he was too far. I think the delta was between him and the next car in front, and he was too far off. And he
Okay.
was holding back to anyway. And I don't know the exact situation on that, but look it up. But anyway, they used that as a precedent on Sunday. The other precedent, of course, being the actual rule, which I think should trump anything, is that if you commit this infringement, then you serve a drive-through penalty. And everybody on TV was going nuts. Why aren't we doing this now? Why aren't we doing this within the race? Why are we going to have the results of the race and then find out an hour later that Checo may not have won?
And it was 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours.
It was longer than an hour because I
When-
waited around for an hour.
When Matty F1, who's
Yeah.
one of my favorite Twitter
Oh,
personalities,
absolutely.
put on there, it's 2 hours after the race. I still don't know who won.
Yeah.
You know, the punishment, I don't know why the rule is a drive-through penalty. To me, that seems harsh.
Yeah.
A 5 second seems normal.
I don't think it's a great rule, but man, it's the rule.
It's the rule. It is what it is. It should be enforced the same every
And
single
this
time,
is-
which is one of my big things with Formula One.
And you crack on me, but this is 6 weeks in a row that something
But this didn't
janky
help
has
Max. Well, I
happened.
guess it did help Max because it kept Leclerc from winning.
right.
Yeah. Which George Russell got fastest lap. So it cost what, 6 points, 8 points,
Yeah.
which is a lot.
Leclerc
I
would have
mean,
won.
Yeah.
A drive-through penalty, Checo wouldn't have even came in.
Top 5.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I think that rule is too harsh. I think I really do think they say, okay, what kind of advantage did he get? Was it 5, 10? Was it a 10-second? Probably not. I mean, do you think it was probably a 2 or 3 second advantage, right? If you're holding everybody up and you start first.
I'm still trying to figure out why we're talking about when the actual rule.
No,
Okay.
I am saying that the rule should have been, whatever the rule is,
Yeah.
should have been enforced. What I'm saying is it's not a good rule. Going forward, what should be changed to?
Right.
If they were to say, hey, Chad and Jay, next year, gap for the safety car, what does it need to be? What do you guys think it should be?
Oh, I like the 10 car length gap.
I'm saying, like, what's the penalty for if
Oh.
if they let you and I change the rule for the FIA, what would you make that?
I think it should have been a 5 second, but an immediate within the race 5 seconds. So, and that both drivers are notified
Right then.
first and second place. Because once
Because
Binotto came
he
over,
backed off, right?
right. Binotto came over the radio and goes, "Hey, and this was when Charles was at 3.2 seconds behind Checo. He goes, he has a potential 10 seconds worth of penalties for 2 separate safety car infringements. And this is where it stinks, man, because I think they dumped the second one because he got 7 point whatever seconds and they only needed the 5 second to allow Red Bull to still win.
So
It smells, man. I'm
I
telling
get it.
you.
It is every week. And here's the deal. I laugh at 1, I laugh at 2.
This is sick.
So here's what I can by your own thing.
Yeah.
The second one was really close.
Yeah.
You got to be pretty egregious, I feel like, to get this 10 car length thing, because it's just such a hard thing to judge while you're just looking at a gap between 2 cars. I think it should be how many seconds are you behind the pace car? That's a very tangible thing, right? You have to
Right,
be
but-
1 second behind the pace car.
The gap delta on their steering wheel would have let them know where to be.
So it tells them where to be.
Well, they would have measured the seconds out. The safety car would have had that measurement in seconds.
and it tells them how many car lengths
Yeah,
that is going
yeah.
at this mile an hour.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay. So if he said potential, but the part that bothers me, or the part that I'm going to hear is a 5 second penalty.
He
He
knew it might be
said-
2 5-second penalties.
But he said 5 second penalty. Where did he come up with that number? How did he know? If FIA just made that rule.
Oh, I'm sure he had already, because we've seen Horner do it on
yeah.
and Toto, already called up there
Called.
to the head steward.
So they were thinking right then it was going to be a 5 second penalty.
Yeah.
They weren't even thinking it was going to be a drive through
Right.
penalty. It was never even crossed the FIA's
and
mind.
I'm just as mad at Ferrari for allowing that gap just to grow from 0.3 seconds to 7.26 seconds or whatever when they had a chance to be within 5 and win the race.
That's my thing.
So that argument is there, but it doesn't change the fact that we've had 6 very weird Twilight Zone situations, 6 races in a row that have helped Red Bull.
I get it.
So anyway,
It just you would think that if you're a Ferrari, you would make the decision like, hey man, potentially 2. Probably if you say potentially 2, you're thinking probably 1.
right.
Why would you not stay in that? Just make sure you stay at that 4-9. Just
Yeah.
stay right there.
And here's I don't think that Checo was that fast. I think it was more Leclerc backed off
Oh, I think so too.
because you're not running as fast as Charles ran all day, and then all of a sudden you just can't.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, it was really weird. So anyway, that's all I'm gonna say about it,
Okay.
and that's how the race ended. And I wasn't real happy about it, but it is what it is. So we got Japan coming up. Barring something crazy, Verstappen will clinch the drivers' championship at Suzuka. I think the constructors already really decided.
What does he have to do? Do you know off the top of your head? I know he's got to win, have fastest lap, and then what does Leclerc have to
He
do?
can win, have fastest lap. If Leclerc is, I think it's probably still eighth or worse.
So I don't think he'll clinch this week
He might not, but
because I mean Leclerc is going to be better than that.
you hope. And
I think
also,
so.
you also have a high likelihood of wet conditions again when you're talking about Japan.
Yeah,
The big battle is going to be between McLaren and Alpine. I said
that's
it
2
again.
weeks in a row.
It is
2 weeks
Alpine,
in a row. Mr. World Traveler.
because McLaren leapfrogged Alpine this week because Alpine lost both cars.
Is that for fourth?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's for fourth. But this week, both McLaren cars will have the upgrade package that Norris ran at Singapore, so that's a good news. And then, just on a funny side trivia note, this is Alonso's favorite venue.
Okay.
Not necessarily his favorite track, but his favorite venue. I watched a thing where they ask a driver 50 questions, and they're kind of sitting beside the track with index cards reading these questions. And they're like, "What's your favorite place to race?" And venue. And he said, Suzuka. He goes, because I love Tokyo, I love Japanese culture, I love hanging out there in between, race sessions, and so I thought that was cool, and I just wanted to bring that up. But that's really all I had, man, on F1. 36 minutes later, it might be the longest F1 segment we've ever done. But
Probably the longest one.
that was definitely a lap for lap, pretty much on the breakdown. That was for you, Mikey, because you were like, "Hey, I didn't really get to watch it. I hope you guys have a good recap."
That was a pretty good recap.
Yeah,
I mean, that's about as long a recap as you'll ever get.
yeah.
So, just because I want to keep it in F1, what's your podium for next week? Who you think's going to do well? What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, I think Leclerc will have the pole.
Okay.
I think Sainz will have 2, and I think Verstappen is going to be with a purpose. And he'll qualify 3rd, but he's got a 3 grid penalty, which I really want to talk about later when we get to. Oh wow, there's no other place to talk about it. Anyway, we'll talk about it in a minute. I think he'll fall to 6.
So you think he's going to qualify 3?
Yeah,
and start 6.
Yeah,
which will bring Checo to like 3.
I think Checo will be 3, then Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, and Lando Norris.
So who do you think wins the race?
My podium for that race, I think, is going to be. Man, I want to go with my heart on this one, especially since he races well there. I'm going to do it. Leclerc on the win.
Okay.
I'm going to do an outlier and say Lando Norris.
It's funny. I was going to pick Lando on my podium.
Lando and one of the Mercedes.
How does Hamilton race here?
He likes Suzuka very, very, very much. So
I think this is Hamilton.
A lot of people that like racing like Japan a lot.
I think Hamilton wins.
Yeah. Okay.
And remember, he's got to get a W this year.
I'm literally writing this down.
He's got to get a W to keep the streak alive.
Yeah.
However many straight years it's been that either Schumacher or Hamilton's won.
So you're taking Hamilton.
I think Hamilton wins. Verstappen, Leclerc 2, Verstappen 3.
Okay.
Verstappen and Checo are interchangeable right there. But I feel like as much as I don't want Hamilton to win because I don't like him.
Yeah.
He's probably a great person.
Yeah.
But the racing, whatever character.
Yeah.
I feel like he's been right there a couple of times, and he knows we're closing down.
Yeah.
He knows we're getting close. He doesn't want that streak to end. If he's going to win, I think this is his best shot. Now, I don't know. I mean, hell, I don't know what else he's good at, but I think if he's good at Suzuka, I think he's going to win.
So I think when we get to Abu Dhabi, the final race of the season, Verstappen will have already won the Drivers' Championship, and Red Bull will have won the Constructors.
Okay.
I think Hamilton's win is going to be there in a revenge performance from last year.
Okay.
So
that works.
I'm going to throw that. I'm really pushing that one out, but yes.
Do you think so? We all know that Red Bull and Mercedes, there's no love lost.
Yeah.
I wonder how close Verstappen and Hamilton are, though.
I think they're closer than we think.
for sure. And
I mean, I
wonder
don't think
if,
I don't think they're calling and texting each other every day, but I definitely think there's a high level of respect there.
I just wonder if everything's locked up for Verstappen.
Yeah.
If he somehow
Loosens up.
loosens up a little bit, let him, if it comes down late, and I know those guys aren't wired that way.
Yeah.
They're wired to win.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. You say that, and I agree with you in a way, but anytime you see footage of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, and Fernando Alonso hanging out, they're always laughing.
Oh,
and you know,
I'm talking about on the
bros slapping each other, and
it's got to be hard to think though that like, hey man, I've got mine this year. I'm going to make sure he gets his.
yeah,
I just wonder how hard it is to flip that switch while you're driving a race car. But I don't know.
I'd do
I don't
it.
know.
Like,
I would too.
if it were you and I had just
It has been
won
you
the-
and I.
if-
You've helped me out.
yeah, if I had already won my 3rd or 4th or 17th title, and you were coming up through there, and I knew the previous season we'd had a knockdown drag out. Yeah, come on, man.
For
you
sure.
know? I mean, I'd make you fight for it, but I'm not going to take you off the road.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're not going to give it to anybody, but you're
Yeah, you
also
don't
not
want to
going to,
patronize people, but
Yeah.
yeah.
you're also not going to punk him either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
All right. Let's head to World Rally Championship in New Zealand.
yeah, best show on dirt. So, you know, I made a joke about a toddler winning the World Rally Championship, and we've talked about it week after week after week, but Rovanpera is a really, really good rally driver.
Yes, he is.
So he clinched the World Rally Championship with 2 more rallies to go.
Okay.
He also is the youngest driver to ever do it at 22. And it was also his birthday.
Well, that's awesome.
So it was really beginning to end.
I mean, what a good day.
Yeah. Beginning to end of the rally, starting from, you know, Thursday all the way through. Really good for him. Going into the Wolf Power stage, which is the last stage on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's the one you get double points for. He needed to get 4th to clinch it, and he absolutely killed it.
Oh,
I
awesome.
mean, he obliterated the competition. The weird thing was Seb Ogier came back to race, you know, because he's like a part-time guy now.
Yeah.
On
he
World
took what's
Rally.
his name spot again, right? The kid that was pretty good.
Well, no, he took Esapeka Lopez.
Yeah, but he's been good.
Yeah.
And he's
So-
young and he thinks he needs a full-time job.
And I could tell his whole job was holding everybody else back. It felt like, you know, he protecting Rovanpera, and it's not like Rovanpera needed it. Oit Tanik, valiant effort, man, and great season. Came in 3rd for the rally overall. Had a couple really good stages during the weekend, but just not enough. And he wouldn't have got there anyway.
Yeah.
Too many points. Our boy, our unofficial rally driver for
Ross
the fuel pot-
Chastain?
for the fuel
Oh.
pot, the rally driver
Oh,
is Elvin Evans, and
Santa Claus, Elfin Evans.
he was DNF.
Oh man,
Yeah, I think it was Gearbox. I couldn't remember. Either way,
he's gonna get coal in his
Yeah.
stocking.
so there was one stage though, and I just want to bring this up as humor, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But Seb Ogier was coming around a turn, and there was a weird branch on the tree, and it caught his rear spoiler and pulled it off. It was completely
Wow.
gone. It didn't slow the car down. You didn't hear anything. So when they got to the end, that he pulls his, you know, net down, and the reporter's like, "So what'd you think of your race?" And he was like, "You know, we could have been a little bit better out there today." And he's like, "Well, how'd you feel when you lost your rear spoiler?" And OJ's like, "I'm sorry, what?"
And he didn't even know.
No, which that would have killed the aerodynamics. That just shows you how good of a driver he is, because
Yeah.
that car would have been fishtailing everywhere. But
That's kind of impressive.
yeah, he lost this whole and didn't even know. So I thought that was cool. But anyway, we got 2 more rallies left, and then we'll call it a day. We got Spain, and I forgot what the last one is. Japan, I
I
think.
mean, we're starting to wrap up race season.
yeah,
It's really-
it's getting rough.
Okay.
So-
GT World Championship in Barcelona.
Okay, so final race of the year for GT World Challenge. We talked about last week. We talked about it last week that it was going to be down to Iron Lynx Ferrari.
Yep.
And a Codis ASP, which is Mercedes. Iron Lynx had a better race, but they needed to finish in a specific spot to clinch the championship, and they did not.
Oh,
And ASP, Codis ASP Mercedes came in 5th place, but won the championship because Iron Lynx did not win it. They needed to win that race.
so if they win the race, they get it.
Right. And if they
Man,
don't win
that
it,
stinks.
right. So Codas ASP took the title. One of the Iron Dames car went out this weekend. That was tough to watch. And you know, here's the thing, and I want to say this after reflecting on the whole season. These guys are very honorable. They're not making contact with each other just for the sake of making contact with each other. That being said, this weekend was elbows out. There were cars going airborne. There were cars getting tired of being behind other cars, so they just pushed them right off the road.
Last race of the season, you do what you got to do, man.
I mean, there had to be penalties going everywhere. The sheet that they issue at the end of the race, but I mean, it had to be huge. But anyway, we are running out of time because we talked about F1 for quite some time. We love that sport.
Yes, we do.
And folks, get F1 TV. Holy cow, what a great way to watch it this weekend.
And watch Drive to Survive.
Yes, please do.
Netflix.
Real quick news from the paddock, and I'm talking about the Fuel Pod paddock. That's what we're going to call it from now on.
Okay.
Just our own little paddock. We talked about the racing seasons are almost over. Next weekend, you and I are going to be at the Hugo Car Show.
We are?
And we are broadcasting live in living color.
We're going to do it live.
We are going to do it live.
It's really fun. You should come out and see us. If you're out there listening, you are going to be there. I'm talking to the people that can't see us.
About the people that are listening.
We're live on, I don't know if I told you this, we're live on YouTube and we're live on Twitch tonight.
Holy cow.
We were supposed to be live on Facebook, but I don't think it worked. I kept checking. I don't know if you guys could see me. I was checking and it never did pop up. So I don't know if it worked or not.
Well, give Zuckerberg a call after this. And
I'll call him. I'll text him. He'll text me back.
Yeah.
So everybody out there watching, and if you're listening to this later in the week, come see us at the Hugo Car Show. We're going to be live from 9 to 10. We're going to be there from 8 till, I mean, I don't know what time you're leaving, noon.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be there all day long. We'll be walking around with a camera. We're going to have a drone out there. We're going to be making videos and talking to people. It's going to be a good time. So Hugo Car Show at the Choctaw Casino at Grant, Oklahoma. Thanks to Will Payne and K95.5 and ESPN 105.1 Paris for having us out there. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
For our silly season, what do we got? We got
F1 silly season
real quickly.
And this is my credited source on this is Will Buxton on F1.
Know a thing or three.
He might know. Yes, I think he does. So, let's talk about what Shatner had to say.
Okay.
So Pierre Gasly to Alpine.
Which we talked about.
We talked about that.
And I think you said it wasn't going to happen.
Nick
I said it
DeVries
was going to happen. But
Nick DeVries taking Gasly's spot at AlphaTauri.
Pretty sure I said that was going to happen, and you said it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I think you were right there. Latifi to Haas. It's a money thing, not a talent thing.
It's ridiculous that kid has a seat.
This isn't definite yet, but I'm pretty sure. It's like it's pretty much.
I get it. I understand why about Haas, whatever's doing it.
Yeah.
Latifi's terrible.
Yeah.
He does not deserve a Formula One seat. If the fact that kid has a seat over Danny Rick or you have Hulkenberg on here,
yeah,
if it's a travesty, and I'm finger pointing and pencil throwing, it's ridiculous that Latifi has a seat. He scored like 19 career points.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and he's in 21st place out of 20 cars.
It's ridiculous. So, I don't understand. I don't know. That's the one that drives me nuts is money trumps talent.
Yep.
Sorry.
Logan Sargent, North American driver. He is going to be taking Latifi's spot at Williams.
He's reporting for duty to Williams.
Yes. They spell Sargent different. And as you just mentioned, the two most talented drivers without a seat are going to be Danny Hulkenberg. Excuse me, 8-time race winner Danny Ricciardo and Nico Hulkenberg.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That how he does not have a seat will forever drive me bonkers.
It's going to drive me nuts. And a lot of the other drivers. Oh, by the way, when they asked Alonso the 50 questions and they asked him, who's your favorite driver to hang out with in the paddock? He said, well, I've been around for a long time. And he's like, I got some favorites. And, he mentioned Michael Schumacher and those guys. But when he got to, he's like, today, Danny. He's like, it's going to be Danny.
I mean,
yeah. And Lewis Hamilton's
these
the
guys
same
have
way.
To be sick that he's not going to have a ride next year.
The only ones that seem to be okay with it are the super young ones.
Because they don't care.
They only care about their own career at this point.
All right, we ready
let's
for podiums?
do podiums.
All right, give me just a second. Let me cue up this music, get it on the right.
No idea what you're gonna say. Anyway, so my podium, third place goes to a Codas ASP Mercedes for the GT World Challenge. Congratulations on becoming the endurance champions this year. Second, Callie Rovenpera, youngest WRC champ. Dude, congratulations! Can't think of a better way to spend a birthday than getting the championship.
Right.
And not that that's ever happened to me because it hasn't. But
you barely get off on your birthday.
Number one, I never do. Number one, Checo Perez. I did have off on my birthday this year.
I'm aware.
Checo Perez for the Oracle Bybit F1 racing team came in first place. He deserved it. Well done, Checo.
Okay. My podium, number 3, just because of Jay, and he likes to say AJ Dingalinger. He gets called back up to NASCAR the full-time ride in the number 16 car, which is pretty cool. I liked AJ. Number 2, Kelly Rovanpera. I thought that was pretty cool. I actually stole yours just now.
Yeah.
And then my number 1's the same as your number 1, Checo. I just love seeing that dude get a win because I think he's a great guy. Back markers, Jay. Turn that music off for these losers. No, I'm just kidding. You gonna do yours first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
My third placement goes to Lewis Hamilton. He had an incredible qualifying session. I thought he had a chance to. I thought this was going to be his win weekend. Yeah, he was doing so well. And then he made a rookie mistake and burned it into a wall. Second place, just because I'm heartbroken for him, is Ferrari, because this is the one weekend everything went right for them. Pit strategy was good. Tire selection was good. Pace was good on Leclerc. I wish they could have got some more out of Sainz, but he did a good job defense, and they just couldn't overtake Checo. And then first place is Max Verstappen, who looked more like a Clark Kent type than a Superman type this weekend.
Again, our podiums and back markers look a lot alike. So I got 5 of them. I'll go through them quickly. Number 5, the rubber bands and the paddle balls we had as kids. Those things were terrible. Always popped you in the hand. I mean, have you ever it just always, I hate those stinking things. And yard darts. Can we bring back yard darts for God's sakes?
Man.
80s yard darts. We need to bring those back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is where Jay writes my back markers for me.
Yeah.
And there's a third one I'm not 100% sure I can talk about. My real number 3, the FIA and consistency.
Yes.
We gotta be better. We gotta be better. And I know it benefited my team.
Yeah.
I don't care. The rule's the rule. If you don't like the rule, change it in the offseason. Number 2, Lewis Hamilton, but not because of your reason, because he complained the entire time.
Yeah.
Quit complaining so much, dude. And number 1, Max, just looked off all weekend. Just didn't seem himself. I don't know. It was a weird race for him, and I'm sure he's ready to get Singapore behind him, move on to Japan, and see if he can get a W. Jay, does that bring us to the end?
Yeah, it does.
We actually knocked it out pretty quick, a little faster than I thought we were going to. So really thought I was going to be sweating this. Okay.
Hey, couple things before you start the social shilling. I'd like to social shill for some other people.
100%. Go forth and conquer.
Connor Moore, I've brought him up before. He's a funny guy that does a YouTube channel where he does impressions and does World Cup, but he's getting fun content. So he did a post race on Singapore this weekend. Absolutely hilarious. Check it out when you get a chance. Always follow the Twitter traffic on WTF1 with Matty Gallagher, because I'm telling you, the guy's in tune with what's going on. And, I know he's a Ferrari guy. I enjoy reading his tweets. Although sometimes he gets my blood boiling for Ferrari. And then I'm at work and, I'm just sitting there like
just irritated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for that, Matt.
That's funny. Thanks for that, Matt. Like Matt's listening at home.
Right.
He has listened to the podcast. I hope he listens to this.
Yeah, no kidding.
He did tweet us and say he listens to the podcast. So if you're listening to us on ESPN Paris 105.1, I said that fast. Didn't I?
Like you sound like a commercial right there.
Micro Machines, dude. Nailed it. Thank you for listening. The way to help us out, leave a 5-star review, subscribe to the show, automatic downloads. We get credit for that. That's awesome. Keep listening, share with your friends, share with your coworkers, share with your exes, share with your in-laws and outlaws and whoever else you think might want to listen.
Right.
Follow us on Twitch, ChadH610.
One man all alone on Twitch this month. GMJ 729.
It has been a minute for me. I'm on Twitch right now. Well, I guess the Fuel Pod's on Twitch right now. Twitter, ChadH610.
One man.
I'm on Twitter all the time. I don't want to hear it, Mr. Voiceover.
J Neal 729.
Good grief almighty. And then you can follow us on Facebook and pod_fuel. And then you can follow me on Facebook at Chad Hitchcock. I'm trying to get Jay on Facebook.
Back on Facebook. Betrayed by the country that he left.
What is wrong with you?
I love the trailer voice guy, man. That's my favorite thing.
Why haven't we used that before? I mean, you have a great trailer voice. So just real quickly, another shout out to some friends of ours, Wagering with the Wives. I don't know if they're on Apple Podcasts yet. You have to check them on Spotify. But Wagering with the Wives, David Maletti, those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
F1 Farmer on Twitter. He helps us out a lot. So go follow him. Is anybody else I'm missing? at Payne Media Group.
Oh yeah,
at
that
Payne
one
Media
for
Group.
sure.
Go follow them, help them out.
Sunshine.
He had a video a couple weeks ago. We were just talking about how to get our social media presence out there. He had one hit 7.
Good grief.
That's
man.
ridiculous. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's something I'm missing, and smarter people will think of this when I get done. But don't forget us, Hugo Car Show, October 15th. We'll be there about 8 a.m. Going live at 9 a.m. Hanging out. If you want to talk cars with us, we're going to be doing interviews and trying to get people on the podcast with us. So if you want to talk cars, just stop us and come hang out for a little bit. Jay, is there anything else I missed?
Man, that's it.
All right, man. We will see you guys next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.